Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Perfect. Just wait for some time so that others will join. What is this, Guru Mohan? AI assistant helping to take the notes. Are you using any tool, Guru Mohan? Otter? Okay. Jitesh, can you hear me now? Am I audible, Jitesh? Okay, fantastic. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll start today's class, okay? In today's class, I will go through what is Selenium web browser, okay? We're just reiterating. So we have 5 free demo classes, okay? So after the fifth demo session, payments have to be made. And if you have any questions, email the support team, okay? And if you have any other questions for me after the class, you can email them to support, and then they will email me all the questions, or you can ask me in the class itself, okay? So hope you are able to see my screen, the MS Paint. Ready? Perfect. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the Selenium WebDriver, which is one of the most important WebDriver we use to automate. Okay, so first is first is what is these are all basics. Okay, when you are familiar with the basics, okay, you will have good confidence about knowing things. Okay, so what is Selenium? Okay, so what is Selenium? So what do you understand by Selenium, and what is Selenium is the first most important thing about Selenium is Selenium is an open source free tool. Okay. Selenium is an open source free tool. Okay. So based on Selenium, many other automation tools have been built, but learning Selenium will help you to understand most of the tools. Okay. So when I say open source, which means that the tool is free, okay, no licensing costs are involved. So what happens is this significantly reduce the cost of software. Okay. So if you go to Selenium website, Selenium dev website, they only ask you for contributions. Okay. They only ask you for contributions. So they generally they ask for donations or contributions. That's it. Apart from that, the source, the Selenium is an open source and a free tool. Okay, next important thing about Selenium is supports multiple programming languages. Okay, so Selenium supports multiple programming languages. So when I say Selenium supports multiple programming languages, what I mean is it supports Java, C Sharp, Ruby on Rails, or in simple Ruby, Perl, and Python. Okay, so Selenium supports multiple programming languages. Okay, so what does this mean is this allows the automation tester to write tests in the languages they are most comfortable with. Okay, let's say if someone is comfortable with Java or someone who has learned Java, so he can write test cases in the Java programming languages and Selenium will understand. Similarly with C Sharp, Ruby, Perl, and Python. Okay. Next is one more most important thing of Selenium is it's a cross-browser platform, or it is cross-browser compatible. So cross-browser compatibility is there. So what is cross-browser compatibility is the Selenium will support different browsers. Okay. Selenium will support different browsers. Okay. These browsers which are supported by Selenium are Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Mozilla, and Edge. I'm sorry. So what I mean in cross-browser compatibility is Selenium scripts, test scripts can run on any web browser. Okay, they can be run on any web browser. So in this process, what happens is cross-browser testing is possible. Okay. So now what is cross-browser testing? Okay, I'll explain you in short. Okay, there is one tool called browser stack. Okay, for the people who are new, for people who are understanding what is testing and what is all about testing. So browser stack is a tool. Okay, browser stack is a tool where browser stack supports cross-browser testing. So what is cross-browser testing is testing your application works in different browsers, which include Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, and also in mobile devices, mostly Android and OS, iOS, which is Apple. Okay. So we have here Chrome browser. Okay. Similarly, we have Firefox, Safari, and Edge. Okay. So browser stack tool. So it looks like this. The browser stack tool, it will support all the versions of Chrome. Let's say we have Chrome 76. Okay. Version number 76. Okay. Let's say the other are other versions are 75, 74. Okay. 73, let's say. So while testing on browser stacker, the user can select Chrome version number 76, okay, Chrome version number 75, or Chrome version number 74. Similarly, it supports the latest versions of Firefox. Let's say the latest for Firefox is 79. Okay, it supports, the browser stack will support, okay, 79, 78, 77, 76. Similarly, same with Safari and same with Edge. 74. So now we have covered the browsers here. Similarly, we have phones. Okay. Similarly, in browser stack, we have phones where user can use the phones, Android or the iOS. So it will simulate the real time. So it will simulate the real time. Okay. So you will have mobiles in browser stack where you can select and where you can test the application. Okay. So any questions about cross browser compatibility? Next, we will move on to the other most important thing of Selenium. The numbers are version numbers. Okay. The numbers are version numbers. Okay. Yeah. So next most important thing is next most important thing is parallel text execution. Okay. So in Selenium, we have Selenium Grid. Okay. We have Selenium Grid, which allows execution of tests across different browsers and operating systems. Okay. So which helps, okay, which helps, yeah. So which helps in speeding up the testing process and under various environments. So parallel testing is also possible using Selenium Grid. Okay. So I will also explain you about the different components of Selenium. Like it will come in the later sessions. Okay. And next important thing of Selenium is integration. integration with different tools. Okay. So Selenium integrates with other testing frameworks or other testing plugins. Okay. Very well. Okay. So I'll give you one example of Selenium, which integrates with TestNG. TestNG is nothing but a plugin or a framework which allows you to generate reports. Similarly, for CI, which is continuous integration, Selenium will also can integrate with Jenkins, okay, and GitLab. So reason we use Jenkins and GitLab is Jenkins and GitLab is a continuous integration tool. So it integrates with the Jenkins and GitLab. Okay. The reason we integrate with Jenkins and GitLab is we want to run the test automatically when the build is triggered or when the build is deployed onto the application. Yeah. Any questions regarding integration? Let's move on to the support. Let's move on to the support. Okay. So let's say, let's say, for example, if you have bought a Microsoft product, let's say you have bought Microsoft Office suite. Let's say you have bought Microsoft Office suite. So in which you have PowerPoint, which you have Word document, you have Excel sheet, you have Excel, PowerPoint, you have the email, okay, Outlook. So when you bought that software, so for example, if you have any problems regarding the licensing, or if you have any problems regarding the software, you have support from Microsoft customer service. Okay, so you have support from Microsoft customer service. Similarly, for Selenium, we have a large community of contributors. We call them as contributors. Or, for example, if you're in Selenium support, if you register yourself in Selenium support, you have many people. Once when you raise your question, there are many contributors who support. Okay, and who also regularly update about the Selenium. Okay, since it is an open source tool, so you have the community support. So community is also a great resource for solving your problems when you're automating your web browser, okay, or when you're automating your application. So now I have explained you about the important things or the advantages of Selenium. Okay. I'll also explain you about the downsides or the disadvantages of Selenium. I'll explain you both. Let me save this file. Any questions until now regarding the Selenium advantages? hesitate to ask questions or put questions in the chat box. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is the disadvantage of Selenium. Okay, so one of the disadvantage of or downside of Selenium is there is no built there is no built-in test management. Okay, test management. So what I mean is, so Selenium in simple terms is automating the application, okay, automating your web browser. So Selenium does not have any test management tool. Okay, so for example, what are the test management tools? Yeah, sure, I'll explain you about the parallel test execution as well. So what are the downsides of Selenium is there is no built-in test management. Okay, so some of the examples of test management tools are X-Ray, Jira. Okay, so Jira is a test management tool. Hope you all know what is Jira. If not, Jira is a test management tool. Okay, and also uh, we have some plugins for Jira, which is called X-Ray. Okay, and in the market, we also have other kind of test management tools. So Selenium does not have any built-in test management tool. Okay, so we have one question, which is parallel text execution. Okay, yeah. So parallel test execution, I'll elaborate more on parallel test execution is. So what is parallel test execution is we have a component or in Selenium, we have a feature which is called Selenium Grid. Okay. Using Selenium Grid, what you can do is you can simultaneously execute your test cases in different browsers. Okay. Using Selenium Grid is one of the feature. So with that feature, what you can do is you can execute your test cases, the automated test cases which you wrote parallelly in Chrome, in Firefox, in Safari, in Edge. Okay, in one go, you can run these test cases. Okay, so which helps you in speeding up your testing process rather than first executing your test cases in Chrome and then moving on to Firefox, then moving on to Edge, and then moving on to the Safari. We have one feature in Selenium, which is Selenium Grid, which helps you to run these test cases parallelly in all the browsers in one go. Okay, hope you understood. So next is, yeah. So next is Selenium has limited support for mobile testing. Okay. So one more downside is Selenium has a limited support for mobile testing. Okay. So when Selenium was designed, it was primarily designed for web applications. Okay. So in order to learn mobile testing automation, there is another tool which is called Appium. Yeah. Selenium has limited support for the mobile testing. So there is one more tool which is Appium, okay, which extends Selenium. So in order to automate the mobile apps, you have to learn Appium. Okay, that is one more downside. So can we got two more questions and I'll answer once when I complete the downsides of Selenium. Okay. Yeah. One more challenging one more challenging part is Selenium. Selenium directly Selenium directly controls controls the so Selenium directly controls the browser. From one point of view, is mostly beneficial. But for instance, debugging failed test cases can be tricky. So I'll explain you further when we going to learn the other sessions. I'll explain you about this in further detail. Okay. So any other questions and downsides of Selenium before moving on to some of the questions? Yeah. So some of the questions are here. Can we test all types of programming languages errors? What does that mean? We can test all types. So we have Selenium supports some of the programming languages, which is Java, C Sharp, Ruby on Rails, Perl, and Python. Arti, did you understand uh, it supports? So it is up to you. So whichever language you select, and then there are websites where one of the example is Stackflow, where you can uh, research or try and work out on your errors for different programming languages. Okay. Biswa, how to estimate the time in automation for different browsers? Okay, good question. So Biswa, before you automating any functionality, first what you do is you perform a manual testing. And once when you perform manual testing to see whether the automation which you are planning to do is working. So based on that, so estimations wise, it is very tough call. So based on your programming ability, so for example, a simple login functionality, you know, can take probably a half a day or one day. But before that, the framework has to be built from the scratch. Okay. So all these things will affect. Okay. So estimations are a very tough thing to say, but it depends on the experience. Okay. Sometimes you might have your automation script ready, but it might be failing in the builds. So you need to do troubleshooting on those things as well. So it depends on various things. Okay. So now overall, Selenium is uh, effective testing web application. It's very effective for testing web applications, and so capable of cross-browser testing. Okay. And Selenium is a important tool for you guys to learn so that your foundations are strong. Okay. Now let's move on to the next. So let us understand now the let us understand the components of Selenium WebDriver. So before that, we will understand what is a WebDriver. Okay, Selenium WebDriver. This is also an interview question, Selenium WebDriver. Okay. Okay, let's start. So Selenium WebDriver, in simple terms, is so Selenium automates web browser. That's it. Very simple. Okay, let's keep it simple. Okay. So what is Selenium WebDriver? So Selenium WebDriver is a channel or a connection, okay, directly with the browser at the operating system level without any intermediary. Okay, I'll explain now. So Selenium WebDriver directly interacts with your browser, which means, okay, which means, okay, Selenium WebDriver, okay. let's say Chrome browser. Okay, so this is Chrome browser. So one of the simple example I'll give you about Selenium WebDriver is, so you have installed your IDE, which is the tool where you write your automation testing. Okay, so in your automation testing, the first thing you will say is you'll give instructions for the WebDriver. Okay, you will give, okay, you will write a code giving instructions to the WebDriver saying that WebDriver open Chrome browser. Okay, so what happens is, using the language, using the Python or Java or whichever language you select. So in here, we will select Python. So Python coding language will instruct WebDriver. Okay. Let's say we don't have WebDriver. So the Python cannot interact with the Chrome browser directly. So we have WebDriver here. So we say the WebDriver to open the Chrome browser. Okay. So the WebDriver communicates directly with the Chrome browser. Okay. So first thing is we instruct the WebDriver to open the Chrome browser. Okay. That is the first line of code or an instruction. Okay. So in this process, what happens is the WebDriver follows the instructions and opens the Chrome browser. Okay. So let's say that is the first line of code, which is working. So you are happily opening the Chrome browser. So next thing is what you do is you instruct the web driver again saying that can you open the XYZ application? Okay. So the web driver will open the XYZ application. So so web driver is directly communicating with the browser. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. As I told you already, Selenium supports different languages, which is Java, C Sharp, Python, Ruby. Okay. And also it is OS independent, which means that it is operating system independent. So, which means that you might have a Windows laptop or you might have a Apple laptop. So Selenium is independent of operating system. Okay. So it can work on Windows, it can work on Apple. Okay. So any questions regarding WebDriver before moving to the components of WebDriver? Okay, no problem. Okay. So next is, let's say the components of Selenium. Okay. Okay, guys, let's say we have Selenium WebDriver. I will explain you. We have Selenium IDE. Have Selenium. Great. Okay. So as I explained you about Selenium WebDriver, so we have three components of Selenium, which is Selenium WebDriver, Selenium IDE, and Selenium Grid. Okay. So now let's talk about Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium WebDriver, the way it interacts with the browsers is the main way it interacts is through API communication. Okay. Through API communication, it will interact with the Chrome browser. Similarly, we have Selenium IDE, which is Integrated Development Environment. Okay. So this will allow the user to record the interactions with the browser and play them back to automate repetitive tasks. Okay. So Selenium IDE is mainly used by the beginners. Okay. It is ideal for beginners. Okay. For those who need to create scripts quickly without writing much code. Okay. So I'll explain you what are the disadvantages of Selenium IDE. Okay. In simple terms, Selenium IDE is a record and playback tool. Okay. So what happens is you have an application. Okay. You have an application where, as a tester, as an automation tester, they told you to perform the regression testing. Okay. So what you do is before the application is being tested, so what you did was you have recorded all the scripts and the build is ready. So the other testers have finished the functional testing. And as an automation tester or as a tester, not as an automation tester, let's say as a tester, you have recorded your test scripts. Okay, now you want to run your test scripts. So what you do is you have recorded them. So you will now play the recorded test scripts. So now the recorded test scripts, you might have recorded around 20 test scripts, and then you run them. So what happens here is record and playback. When you play back the automation test scripts, they work fine for the first time. Okay. But what happens is, again, when there is a new build and there are some changes for the login functionality, let's say, the same recorded the same recorded automation test scripts or the same recorded test scripts will not work because since the application has been changed. Okay. But using the programming language but using the coding language, what you do is you create test scripts. Okay. You create test scripts and the data is called from an Excel sheet. Okay. So that particular data will be populated into the automation. So then what happens is automatically the test data, which is called, let's say the email address and the password is called from the Excel sheet and that is populated in the fields. But in your record and playback, you can only put one username and one password. Okay. So majorly, it is only used for the beginners to understand how the record and playback works. Okay. Now let's move on to the Selenium grid. The other component is Selenium grid. Okay. Selenium grid actually helps you to distribute your tests across multiple machines, including different operating systems. Okay. So what happens is this will allow you to run tests parallelly. One of the best example is using Selenium grid. In one go, we can execute tests or run tests for all the four browsers, which is Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Safari. Okay. Any questions regarding the components of Selenium? Yeah, Biswa. Okay, Selenium Grid. Okay, I'll explain about Selenium Grid. So Selenium Grid is a component or a feature of Selenium. Okay. In simple terms, Selenium Grid will allow you to write your Selenium Grid will allow you to execute your test cases in one go in different browsers, which is Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Safari. Okay. So it will allow you to perform parallel testing. Okay. Parallelly, you can finish your test in all the browsers in one go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we do is in tomorrow's session, I will practically show you how to use the WebDriver. Okay. Yes, that's right. That's right, Biswa. So one code working for different browsers. Yes, that's right. So all you need to do is you need to declare the different browsers in the code. All you need to do is declare the different browsers and it will run in the four browsers. That is right. Yeah. So what we do is in tomorrow's lecture or tomorrow's session, what I'll do is I will explain you about how to use the Selenium WebDriver. So I will show you the basics of Selenium WebDriver, and further we will move on to different aspects of WebDriver. Okay, I will show you some basic code as well, how to write the basic code and how to open the web browser practically. Okay, any other questions today, guys? If not, I will conclude today's demo. Okay. So we will reconnect everybody. We will reconnect tomorrow at the same time. Okay. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you.